There's an updated Cadillac Escalade coming for 2025, and this isn't it. But this is a very important model to the Cadillac Escalade lineup because this is one that has sold so well the last few years that Cadillac is shifting the allocations of what they're building to accommodate more of them. Welcome to Out Motorsports, the channel for cars as you are. My name is Jake, and I'm here with the 2024 Cadillac Escalade V. This is the high-performance version of the Escalade. They've been selling the Escalade in general for 25 years, which makes me feel really old, to be honest. And they've done this high-performance model for the last few years. I've driven a couple. They are fabulous in a way that only the American manufacturers can do. So let's talk about what this thing is, why they're making them in even more quantities for 2025, because they are really kind of neat, kind of special, and I am just thrilled to get to spend more time with this one. So the party piece of the Escalade V is something that you've seen in the Cadillac CT5V Blackwing. That is going to be a special version of the 6.2 liter V8 engine. Now, the normal Escalade will come with generally a 6.2 liter V8 on its own, but it's naturally aspirated. It's kind of a truck motor, and it does a really good job at being a truck motor, and these are, frankly, trucks. They're really, really, really nice trucks. They're body on frame, shared frame with the Tahoe, the Suburban, the Yukon, the Silverado, the Sierra, and they're very good. But Cadillac wanted to do something a little more performance-y, finally. They've been building the Escalade for 25 years, and it's been very, very popular. It overtook the Navigator way, way, way back when, and they never really did a performance model until now, despite these being really good sellers overall. And you know, Cadillac has done this performance thing for the last handful of years, or decades at this point, with all the V cars. So they finally did an Escalade V. And this is not going to be a full-on Blackwing, so you're not going to get all the performance modifications that you get with something like a CT4 or CT5V Blackwing, but you do get the motor. So 6.2 liter V8, but it's the same one out of the CT5V Blackwing, which means it is supercharged. Now, they put a different supercharger on it in this case because bigger vehicle, more weight, they need to move, you know, more metal around here. So where the CT5 adds a 1.7 liter supercharger, the supercharger on this can displace 2.7 liters on its own, which I find just absolutely hysterical. It's wild. It's just so excessive, and I just love it. And that's good for 682 horsepower and 653 pound-feet of torque, which is, again, excessive. It's plenty. It's more than fine, more than enough. And we'll talk about how it drives here in just a second, but it is just fabulous. That flows down to all four wheels, standard all-wheel drive, and a 10-speed torque converter automatic that you'll find in a lot of other GM trucks and SUVs at this point. Now, I mentioned this is not a full-on Blackwing, and what that means is Cadillac did some other modifications. They did a little bit of stuff to it, but it is not going to be a full-on performance-y model, if that makes sense. So they kept it very Escalade, which is to say luxury, a little soft, a little cushy, and that all adds up to something that is so American, I can't stand it. I love it because if you look at something like an Audi RSQ8, Mercedes-Benz GLE 63S, those sorts of vehicles, those are performance SUVs. They did big wide tires, lowered suspensions, big sticky tires. I said tires twice. You get the point. Big wheels, big tires, different suspension, big brakes, but they are performance first. Cadillac was like, well, what if we didn't do that? What if we just did a little bit? And this is just this kind of big himbo of a truck, and I love it because it's fast, and they made some modifications to everything else to make it sort of better, but it's also sort of not, and that makes it very charming. So other than the big motor, what did they do? Well, they upgraded the suspension a little bit to handle a little more performance. So this has four-corner air springs, which means it can go up and down based on your needs and your drive modes. It's also got MagneRide, so the dampers, the shock absorbers themselves can get stiffer or softer based on your drive mode settings. So they tweaked all that, recalibrated it for V use because you've got a lot more power flowing through here than a standard 6.2. And then they upgraded the brakes. It's a 6-piston Brembo setup on the front, and they upgraded the rears as well to something I don't quite remember, forgive me, but they're upgraded. I kind of sort of think they might just be the brakes that you can get on like a Tahoe if you get the performance brake upgrade package over in the accessories catalog. Not a bad thing. They're big, they got plenty of swept area, plenty of pistons. 6 pistons are plenty for brakes, but we'll talk about how this all comes as a package here. That's what they did with the brakes. Where they didn't do a whole lot is with the tires. This is a 22-inch wheel that you get, and you get the same Bridgestone Alenza tire that you get on any other Escalade. Now, I had a Bridgestone Alenza on my Porsche Cayenne when I owned that. It's a fantastic tire. It rides well, it's quiet, it's comfortable, it does good in the rain, it does all right in the snow. It's what you want out of a luxury touring tire. This is kind of that weird mix of luxury touring and completely stupid bonkers sporty. And we'll talk about how this all comes together again. But maybe not the tire I would have spec'd on a truck like this, but again, it makes it kind of a silly fun package. And then finally, they upgraded the exhaust, as you would hope on a truck like this with a motor like this. It's an active exhaust, so again, based on your drive modes, it is going to be louder or quieter, and it's really not that quiet even in the quiet setting. So that's what they've done, and then inside is typical Escalade. It's just going to be very, very nice. They've got kind of a unique interior for the sake of the leather pattern and stitching and all that good stuff, but it's just going to be a fully loaded Escalade Platinum otherwise. So you get a really good sound system, you get a nice big screen setup that they all get, you have Super Cruise, you have multi-zone climate control, all sorts of lovely things inside, but that's not the V of this. The V of this is all the performance-y bits that I just talked about. And then the bonus is these are still rated to tow fairly decent weight. So this one in short wheelbase form is rated to tow 7,000 pounds. If you get the ESV, which yes, you can get an Escalade V ESV, which is the longer wheelbase with more space behind the third row, that is rated for 7,200 pounds. Now I was gonna tow with this. This was gonna be a whole towing video on how stupid it was to use a 682 horsepower Himbo truck to tow my 7,000 pound trailer all the way to VIR, but then Hurricane Debbie came through and said we're not doing that. The event got canceled due to the river flooding the racetrack. So here we are. I just want to talk about why this thing is so great, because like I said, it's imperfect and the imperfections make it good. I think if it was a more perfect package like what the Germans do, this would be a worse truck. So let's get behind the wheel and talk all about it. Okay, so first things first with driving the Escalade V, it is much more fun if you put it in the V mode, which is right here in front of the shifter. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and you'll see on the screen it calls up all the stuff. You can change the steering, suspension, the shift points, the loudness of everything with the exhaust, and the braking feel, which I'll talk about in a second because I don't think it does enough in that case in particular. And everyone wants to know, how is this for acceleration? So we've got an on-ramp, we're going to do it. We let these cars get out of the way because this is pretty quick. And I'm gonna go ahead and point this thing straight before I really pin it here. But if we just stand on it, this moves in a way that SUVs shouldn't move. And I say that because it's not just about the power, right? It's plenty fast, it is so loud, but also it rocks back on its haunches and just kind of squats and goes. I had one of these when we were at our event at Gingerman Raceway last fall. Cadillac was nice enough to let me use it as a pace truck for the event, and of course I took some time to do some launch control, and even then, especially then, it stiffens up the suspension, it lowers it all, and it still just squats and goes. And it is so funny to me in a charming way. Now, I mentioned the rest of the truck is not necessarily black wingy. You can hear the exhaust. It also, let me put this in manual modes. I can click it down some gears. It does that popcorn thing every time you lift throttle if you're in V mode. And I just find it so funny. It's so excessive in a way that everyone's gonna look at you and be like, what the hell is going on? But also, that's kind of cool. I like that. At least people who like to have fun are gonna think that. So the sound is just fantastic. The drivetrain in this, I just adore. The downside is you're going to get terrible fuel economy, because if you're anything like me, you're going to be driving it everywhere, doing what I'm doing right now. So when you do this, it's good for about 8 miles a gallon. It's not great if you keep your foot out of it. I think it's EPA rated at 13 highway, which sounds about right. And that's what you get with a hand-built 6.2 V8 with a big honking supercharger on it. So in any case, that's the drivetrain, and I really like it. Now, I mentioned the rest of this package is not Blackwing spec necessarily, so it's only going to be so performance-y. A couple things I don't love. The brake pedal feel. I mentioned with the V mode, you can call up your drive modes here. Where's my... So I can take it and I can put it into different modes, and I can change how everything is, brake feel in particular. So I can take it back to Tour. If I go there, oops, I went too far. there's Tour. So Tour mode is going to be, you know, the lightest brakes, the lightest steering, the softest suspension, all that good stuff, which is fine for day-to-day driving. That's really all you need. Go ahead and pop it back to drive. It'll drop down to 10th gear, and it's going to be just nice and, you know, Escalade-y. But even then, no matter what brake feel you have selected, the brakes on this truck feel very wooden. And that's just kind of a bummer, because to me, when I say wooden, what that means is when you initially go for the pedal, you don't have a ton of feel or confidence inspiring bite. And then from there, it also, just as you progress through the pedal travel, it also doesn't feel especially confidence inspiring. So as I'm coming off this off ramp here, I will go for the brakes, and they're not squishy. You know you're gonna stop, but it takes a lot of force, and I just I'm not loving it. So I think for how heavy this is and how fast you can get it going, I would like a little sharper bite on the pedal, and that would go a long way in increasing the confidence of the whole package. Now, as we get off the highway here, talking about just kind of general comfort, the suspension here, the ride is pretty good. It errs on the side of soft. That's a mix of how the suspension is calibrated and also the tires that are on it. So I mentioned those Bridgestone Alenzas are only so good. They are perfectly fine for what I'm doing right here. They're very comfy, but when it comes to any sort of performance driving, if you're on a back road or something, they are going to give up real fast. And again, that's not a problem, because I think truly if they put this on a crazier tire, you know, with a lot more performance, a lot more grip, I really don't know if I'd like it as much. It truly feels more fun to me to have it on this kind of silly, slightly slippy tire that is certainly nice to ride around on. You've got plenty of cushion, despite it being a 22. You've got a lot of sidewall here, which is good, but it's definitely soft. But you have all this character, and character, I think, to car enthusiasts is imperfection that we have come to adore, and that's what this is. And I think if it were any better, we would like it less, because it would be so precise that it loses all personality. And there again, coming up with the brakes, I just am not a huge fan of the brakes. And with the 2025s coming out, we know what they're doing. They're doing a whole new instrument panel, kind of tweaks to the bumpers and everything, but the interior is going to be the big update for those, and they have not made any changes to the Escalade V performance-wise. It's going to be the same truck. They might do a little bit to the suspension, but no apparent changes to the brakes, which kind of bums me out. Maybe they'll do something if enough of us complain, but again, I think it adds a little character. I would just like a sharper pad, but again, a different brake pad would go a long way there. So that is that. Now, I mentioned they're increasing production of these because apparently enough people wanted them that they had to up production for 2025, and because of that, well, they didn't say because of that. I'm inferring that because of that, they're going to kill off the diesel on the Escalade. Still going to be offered on the Yukons, maybe the Suburbans, but the Escalade will not get it. So, interesting to me that enough people wanted this in this form that they're building even more, because I figured at this price point, this is kind of a niche product. This one is fully loaded. This is the short wheelbase, and this is $158,000. That is a lot of money for one of these. I know Escalades are expensive, but you gotta really like it. You're paying for the drivetrain, which is, like I said, special. And then otherwise, you know, this is just an Escalade. It's really nice in here. I've got massaging seats, I've got Super Cruise, I've got a banging 36 speaker AKG sound system that is one of the best I've heard in the industry, and I've got a very pleasant interior. I'm a little bummed with the new Escalade. I'll wait till I get to drive one to reserve judgment, but they're changing the interior, they're killing a lot of the buttons and knobs, and you're getting a full width screen to match the Escalade IQ, which is the fully electric Escalade that's coming out. And I actually really like this setup a lot. You've got this whole infotainment right here, speed bump, oh, nice and cushy. That's that mag ride in the air springs. The ride in here is good. It's soft, but it's good. So you've got this screen here.
School zone in 800 feet.
Okay, thank you. So you've got this whole system here that works really well, and then you've got your separate digital cluster here, which actually they use the pixels well. Again, I like that. If you want maps, you can have those up. I like the big tack because I'm a child at heart. And then you've got a little touchscreen over here that is your trip computer. It controls the HUD. It controls this cluster for what you see. Very easy to use. You're generally going to mess with this while you're stopped, but still really think it's well done. So that combined with physical controls for your climate panel, which is fantastic. Physical controls for volume, drive modes, your infotainment right here. I quite enjoy this. It's kind of bummed they're getting rid of it. I've gotten to drive several Escalades. I think this is my third or fourth, and this is a very well thought out interior, and I'm a little bummed it's going away. Excited to see what the new one is, but bummed this is going away. So in any case, that's just some quick talk on the 2024 Escalade V. This is the third one I've been able to drive. I feel very fortunate that Cadillac has been like, hey, why don't you take another one and see if you still like it, because I do. They're just such a riot of a truck. I think they're very silly, and you know, in an era where I think most people's cars are very appliancey, which is frankly, cars are always appliances, but we're getting to perfect formulaic car because we've been doing this for so long. The industry has advanced so much, and this is so purposely not perfect, and I'm just such a fan of any car that's like that. So those are my thoughts. I am so glad this exists, and I'm so glad that people are buying them in such quantity that they have to make more for 2025. So that's all for my thoughts on the Escalade V. Thank you as always for watching. Please be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe here. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that good stuff. Head over to outmotorsports.com if you want to see where we're going to be. We've got events both in person and online, and we'd love to have you as our new best friends. So that's where we'll be. So till next time, please stay safe, be well. See you again soon.